10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 268. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 268 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We are into a new month, and of course that means a new topic and a new series that we're going to talk about. This month we're going to be talking about Triad workouts, and these are some of the exercises that I feel like most quickly got me around 12 keys of triads in various different formats, really helped me on my instrument, and really helped me to understand triads in a way that I could eventually use them. So before we jump into the show, as usual, I have to let you know this is a listener-supported podcast. We do not have ads on this show, and we rely on listeners like you to keep the show running and keep the show coming at you each week in high quality. So the way that you can support us and get fantastic rewards, including a PDF and audio examples from every single episode that we've ever done, is by visiting our Patreon page. This is a platform that allows shows like this to receive support from listeners and fans and keep coming out. So you can get there by going to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, and get yourself signed up today for instant access to all of those materials from all 268 episodes. Got to give a quick shout out to two new patrons this week. Thank you to our new $5 patrons, Alma and Crystal. Thank you for becoming part of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson family. And of course, thank you to everybody else over there that is continuing to support us month in and month out. Again, that's 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners. Get yourself signed up today. All right, so as I mentioned, these are the foundational triad exercises that I studied way back in high school that really got me to understand the sound and get around my instrument on triads. What we're not going to be dealing with in these episodes is application. So these are just straight up technical exercises. We can deal with the application down the road a little bit, but sometimes what we have to do is just commit to something, knowing that we're not going to be able to apply it to our solos right away. The good news is that the technique gains that you experience on your instrument from doing these exercises are going to be realized in your improvisation right away. Okay, it's not going to be a direct one-to-one application of these exercises, but you are going to notice that the ability to get around all 12 keys very, very quickly, which these exercises do, being able to think on your feet, being able to think about completely different keys back to back in a fluid manner, is going to help you right away. So while you're not going to be applying the concepts one for one, you are going to notice some kind of improvement, which is always nice. But just commit to these exercises while realizing that they don't have a direct application to whatever tune you're studying at the moment. So what all three of these exercises that I have prepared for you on the PDF this week deal with is getting through all 12 keys of major triads in one way or another chromatically. And what we're going to be doing is changing direction. Sometimes we're going to couple two triads together. Other times we're just going to commit to a direction and a way of playing the triad and just run that up through all 12 keys. All three of the exercises for this week deal with triads in eighth note triplets, which is really handy because it confines each key to one beat. So you're going to be flying through the 12 keys of triads, playing one each beat, getting through all 12 keys relatively quickly. So let's start with example number 1. I am going to play it for you, and then we're going to talk about what is going on. Okay, so what's happening with that is we are cycling through 12 keys of triads ascending. So even when the exercise is coming down, we are still ascending the triad. So basically, my thinking behind this is the constant in my mind is an ascending triad. So we're going to go up the instrument. And I just started in an arbitrary key. So I picked C major, C concert major. And what we'll do is we'll play up 1, 3, 5. And then we're going to start the next triad a half step up, 1, 3, 5. So a D flat major triad. Then we'll start a D major triad. And we're just going to go up the instrument until we get through all 12 keys. So when we get back to C major, we stop. Now, what we do when we turn around and come down, and I haven't notated this on the PDF because I want you to work this out in your head. There has to be some kind of work that you have to do, and this is it for this episode. You're going to deal with the other direction. So the triad stays ascending. You're still going 1, 3, 5, but you're coming down the instrument, and I hope that makes sense. So globally, you're coming down the instrument, but the triads are still ascending. So I play up a C major triad. Now I'm coming down to a B major triad. I'm ascending that triad, B, D sharp, F sharp. Then I'm coming down, doing B flat, A, so on and so forth. So the triad is going up, but we are coming down the instrument, and that really changes the pattern. I think that part, the second half that I want you to figure out on your own, is the most challenging part of exercise number 1. So now that we know what's going on, let's listen to the exercise again. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You can take a look at the PDF, see what it is going up, and then basically you're just reversing it coming down. Now, the second exercise is basically the polar opposite of the first one. Now what we're doing is we're taking a descending triad, and that is going to be our constant. In every key, we're going to play 5, 3, 1. We're going to go up the instrument and down the instrument. This one can be a little bit tougher because the first note that you're playing is not the root, it's actually the fifth. So your knowledge of the triad will have to be a little bit flexible in order to play exercise number 2. You might have to take it a little bit more slowly and develop that skill of being able to start on the fifth in every key. Let's check out what this one sounds like. All right, so you can hear that one's the opposite. Now, the difficulty level also reverses itself as well. So when you're going up is the toughest part, the first half of the exercise. What you'll find is that coming down is a little bit easier because you are descending the triad and you're also descending the instrument. That tends to be a little bit easier when the direction is the same with the triad and direction on the instrument. Now, again, I have not notated the second half of that exercise. I want you to figure that out yourself and realize you're going to have to go a lot slower than what I'm playing, especially when you're not reading the written music on the PDF. Okay, we've got one more exercise for you this week for our first part in the series, and this one combines ascending and descending into one exercise. So we're going to run up the first triad, move up a half step to the fifth of the next triad, come down, move up a half step to the root of the next triad, and we're going to go back and forth between ascending and descending, still using that chromatic motion. Let's check out what it sounds like, then we'll talk about it. Now, what you'll notice about that one is that I have notated the entire thing for you. So you are going to be able to just read that, but I recommend getting your eyes off of it as soon as possible. And that's such a fun exercise to play. It's just so smooth, and the transitions between the keys are just so seamless. Now, this exercise can only be done after you practice the other two exercises because you want to get that ability to be able to run through the keys, develop the flexibility of ascending and descending, and then this exercise combines them together. So we're going up a C major triad, down a D flat major triad, up a D major triad, down an E flat major triad, and it follows that pattern all the way through the first half of the exercise. Now, what you will notice in the second half of the exercise is that every triad that you are ascending in the first half, you are now descending, and vice versa, right? So what we're doing is we're kind of turning the exercise on its head, still keeping it just one exercise, but we're getting the chance to ascend and descend in every key, and that's going to make sure that we have maximum flexibility with these triads. So you'll notice in the first half of the exercise, I started by ascending a C major triad, and then in the second half of the exercise, the way that that starts is I descend a C major concert triad. So we've got to think about that, right? For everything that we do up, we also have to do it down to develop maximum flexibility, because we always want that in every aspect of our playing. We want to take simple structures and flip them every way we can. So my advice would be to get started on this right away. It's something you can use as a warm-up. It's not going to take forever, especially after you've worked on it for a little while. And this will prepare you for what we have next week, which is we're going to start looking at 4-note triads. And if that sounds a little bit weird and contradictory, you'll find out how we're going to work that when we talk about next week's topic. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me on the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook group, or you can always email me at 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. So get started on these exercises. Don't waste any time, and we're going to get our triads really, really happening by the end of this series. So remember, you can grab the PDF by going to 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up, and you will get all the exercises from this episode, as well as all 267 other episodes that we have done. And if you choose to do that, I can't thank you enough. That really allows things to keep moving here at the show. Hope you're all doing well out there, staying safe and healthy, and we will talk to you next week with another brand new episode. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.